Hello everyone, welcome back to our next tutorial. In this tutorial we are going to study about data storage and data transfer. Sometimes you need to process the data and transfer data to some another computer or computer system. You cannot just store objects or arrays as they are. So what you need to do, you need to serialize them. And serialization is translating an object into string objects so that these string objects can be stored or transmitted to some another computer. Similarly, when you want to work back with objects, then you can deserialize them, and that process is called deserialization. In deserialization process, you are going to convert those string back into native objects, right? So the serialization format that web developers are using nowadays is JSON, which is called JavaScript object notation. So you can also say that this JSON is subset of JavaScript, right? So there are multiple benefits of using JSON. So one of them is it's easy to read and it's easy to serialize and deserialize. But web has not always used JSON, right? So there was something before than that, and that is called XML, whose full form is Extensible Markup Language. So there was time when web developers were using XML for everything. So XML is human readable, although it's not necessary to read the data, but being able to read and decipher the data can be useful, right? So consider this document. Here you can see that you are representing a person for which there are three details given here. One of them is first name, another is last name, and the last one is age. So these details are self-explanatory. You can see this data in browser in this way, right? So what you are going to do for that, you need to create a file whose format is .xml, and then you need to open it in browser. So another thing about XML is it's not only human readable, but it is machine readable as well. So because of its machine readability, every modern programming language can read, parse, and generate or format the XML data. So there are three things. One is about reading, another is about parsing, and another is formatting. Right. So it seems a good idea to communicate the data between computers using XML. Certainly, it has some drawbacks because of which web developers have switched to JSON format now. So what are those drawbacks? So first is it has declarative syntax, and due to its declarative syntax, it adds some extra stuff to the data. Here you can see here is the actual data, but this person outside opening and closing tags are something extra that you are adding here, right? So you can see if you count these characters, it comes right. So you can say that 106 bytes are not a very large amount of data, and that is true because of today's standard. This is not much data, but this is just an example. Let us consider the person tags that you are seeing here, and that is surrounding the actual data. You can see that actually accounts for 17 bytes. Here you can see 8, and here are 9 characters. So it is 17 bytes, which is actually 16% of actual payload. So here you can understand that how much data is being used other than the actual data, right? Next thing, you can see here you are using opening tag and closing tag. Similarly for last name and similarly for the age. So in this way, we are using 55 bytes of data to just denote first name, last name and age. So it seems huge, right? Second thing, we need to write large code for parsing or reformatting or generating the XML format. So modern language can handle everything, but a lot of code is needed which should be rewritten for specific XML formats. So you can read and parse the document which we have designed here. So for parsing this document, what you can do, take a variable. We can take p variable, document dot query selector, and then you need to use the tag person. If you check the p variable, you will get the whole document as your data in this variable p. You can open this. Now you need to use this variable p to extract other details. So I want first name fn. So p dot query selector. Now I want first name. Here you can see this is first name. I can change one thing here, text content, and now I will get full name, right? Similarly, I can get last name, and for that I need to copy this thing from here and just change the first with last, and you can see you are getting the last name here. Similarly, you have to extract the age, right? Now after parsing this data, you can create a JSON object. How you can do that? You have already created objects in some ways in previous lectures, and here you have got the data in fn, ln and age variable. So you can create the person object like this. So this code that you see here is not very complex, but it would not work for XML format documents with different names or structures. So documents with more complex structure will require much more code. So that is the difficulty with XML. So there are two major drawbacks. One is document is very heavyweight, and second we need a larger code or large code for reading, parsing and generating the XML data. But if you see, the parsing document into JS object is only half work or half task. Before you can send the data to the server, you need to serialize the data, right? You need to serialize the JS object, but this is not a trivial task. So third drawback is difficult to serialize. Like parsing the same code doesn't work for different data structures or different documents. Similarly, serializing is a difficult task. Plus, developer must ensure that generated data or generated XML data is well found. So around 2007 and 8, the web community adopted a different data format for storing and transmitting the JavaScript data when JSON specification were written in 2006. So we are going to discuss JSON in next lecture. If you have any doubt or query regarding this, you can put it in the comments. I will surely respond back. Till that time, thank you so much.